Welcome to
MIA2K.
Your ticket from Miami to Seoul.
We're Kathy and Laura, and we're so happy you could join us today.
You probably know us from, just kidding, you don't know us yet. We're just two Miami girls with obsessive fandom tendencies who fell into the inescapable void of Korean entertainment. And we're here to share our insights and spill all the tea only grown fans like us can enjoy.
We've done all the research and acclimating so you don't have to. Before we begin, please make sure you're following us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And if you love visuals like us, you can watch us on our YouTube channel. We drop episodes with our hot and sunny takes every week.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Hi Laura. Welcome again to my humble abode. Welcome to this corner of the world.
Thank you. It's very far.
So last time we tried to record in person. It wasn't very smooth. I think we have the third time's the charm situation curse on us. So this is the second time, so I'm hoping that it works today. I mean, maybe since we recorded 2 episodes that day, this can be the third one.
Yeah, and I think the setup is a little bit better.
Yeah,
we can look at each other.
We can look at each other, and we also don't look like morsas because of our placement on the couch. So we don't hate this footage. That would be awesome if that happens. So today we just wanted to be a little bit more fun. And Laura came up with this topic of conversation for us one day while she was driving. She sent me a voice note and she was very determined that this had to be something we talked about. And I agreed with her. I definitely agree with you. Why are you laughing at everything?
It's just funny.
Oh, it's hilarious. Because
I remember me driving
and
feeling like it was really important. So sometimes for work, I have to go from Miami to West Palm, Boca. As I'm driving to Boca, I get so many ideas. And they seem so smart at the time, but when I go and think about them again, they're not that smart. But this one was not one of those.
No, this is a great idea. I think the idea for this was literally the premise of our podcast and wanting to do this and having that spinoff / separate angle of Miami Hispanic Latina women who are into K-pop, which we know we're not unique by any means. We know that there's a very big audience for K-pop throughout Latin America, especially in Mexico, Chile, and Brazil. Mm-hmm. Those are countries that usually have great fandoms for everyone.
That's true.
So I think it makes sense. Mm-hmm. And we just happen to be from Colombia, kind of. I was born in Venezuela, but my mom is Colombian, and I'm repping the Colombian team jersey today as part of our trying to be on brand for these episodes. And so, yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense that we wanted to do this and that you had this great idea while driving to Boca to work.
Yeah. So basically the whole premise is being a K-pop fan, like being a Hispanic K-pop fan. And what that means is there's a lot of things that come into play. And I'm sure everybody who is Hispanic and is a K-pop fan can agree.
I think you're missing a word there. You're adult.
Oh, yeah. An Hispanic adult K-pop fan. But I feel like this applies to everybody of any age, because it shouldn't matter that you're Hispanic and like K-pop, but Hispanic families have a tendency to not really accept things that aren't cool. The norm in like Latin America.
Yeah.
And if you try to like something that is outside of what people think is cool, then it's like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, unless it's American, in which case it's always the standard. The U.S. kind of is at the top of the imperialism of the Latin America, everything. Everyone kind of looks up to the North. Yeah. And they think the U.S. is everything. And I think Europe also has that stance. But when it comes to anything of Eastern Hemisphere precedent, it's not as appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, I think we first have to start with being adults and liking K-pop.
Mm-hmm. I think in terms of fandom, we can go back to talking about how we have grown as fans of things. Okay. So, for example, my very first fandom was Salserin back in the 1996, 97 years. They were the first boy band that I was into, the first men that were definitely not in my vicinity that I thought I was going to marry. That was my first experience with that kind of cult following and just obsession. Then Leo DiCaprio, when Titanic came out, also in 97. Very big fan. Had pictures of him, posters of him, sticker, album, collectibles of him, everything I had of him. And then Backstreet Boys. It hit Venezuela really big. And Backstreet Boys actually came to Venezuela. It was right when I think they had their Black and Blue album.
2000.
They did a tour and they came to, I want to say, like 3 cities in Venezuela. Like, wow. It wasn't just the capital. They went around and they did 2 nights in each city. It was they filled that Poliedro in Caracas. Like, it was a thing. So I remember there was like plastic chairs with those little like zip ties because people would steal the chairs. Just Venezuelan things. So yeah, so that was my first experience, and I think that was pretty much my last. I never got into One Direction, which is what everyone else got into around that time. So that's my personal experience being a fan of things.
So when I was younger, in my school, it wasn't super cool to like things from Latin American countries. So we all love salserín, but it was like low key.
Yeah.
So it was only cool to like things from the US. And when I was 6 to 8, around that time, I would get home from school and I would start watching MTV because they actually played music videos.
What a concept.
Right? Music television was actually music television.
Wow.
And they used to play all of like what was in America. So my first introduction was the Backstreet Boys. That was the thing that I really liked. I never really collected anything, mainly because I don't think my parents would have been like, yeah, sure, let's do it. But I really did like Backstreet Boys. Once I liked the Backstreet Boys, I got into NSYNC, and I started liking NSYNC more than the Backstreet Boys. When I came here to the US in 2000 is when I really started to get into NSYNC. And when I was little, right before going to bed, we would do like a little prayer. Mm-hmm. And in my head, I prayed for every single one of the members.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm,
T. Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I prayed the hardest for Lance. He was my favorite because he was the least liked or the least popular.
This is very on trend with Laura's brand. Yeah.
So he was my favorite because he was the least popular.
Yeah.
And it just pissed me off. So I was like, you know what? He's going to be my favorite. That's why I didn't like Justin Timberlake too much, because he was the favorite and it pissed me off.
And I think she's been proven right at this point not to like him. T. Also T.
So then from there, I moved, and it's not like a boy band, but I feel it's very similar in a way. I had like a period of, oh my God, pop is so stupid, blah, 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 whatever. But then around 2011, I was in college and I was in an internship. I put on Pandora, and somehow I landed on Justin Bieber Pandora.
Why is it with music apps bamboozling us and making us just get it? Wow. They really, oh wow, Pandora did you dirty.
It did. And so I started listening to Justin Bieber, and I'm like, oh my God, this is where it's at. And that's how I became a believer. And then from there, it just made sense to be a One Directioner.
Yeah.
A Directioner? I don't know. I went to see them in concert. It was their last concert as a 5, as a group of 5. You could tell Zayn was over it, but it was great. I made shirts and everything, as I do. And then in One Direction, my favorite was Niall, and it was Louis, because Louis was the least popular. And I appreciated him.
Laura has been standing up for the least popular members for years now.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and then Niall was just adorable.
Yeah,
and then that's how I came to BTS. Well, yeah, to all the boy groups. It just made sense.
While Laura was speaking, I interrupted her and I mentioned Rebelde. That was while we were in high school. There was a Mexican novela, a soap opera called Rebelde, which means rebellious. And from there, it was kind of like a musical, and they had the 6 main characters actually ended up making a band, and they toured all over the world. They also had a huge fandom around the world, and I also felt very personally attached to all of them, especially Dulce Maria. She was my hero because I wanted her red hair, and I wasn't actually into thirsting for the boys at that point. I was just into her. She was like my reason to live. So, not to be dramatic or anything. My brand. So yeah, that was like the peak of my fandom. And then more recently, I am very much into solo artists. What I have been. I think that's been mostly what's been ruling the charts.
Yeah.
My top favorite people as of recent were Ed Sheeran, Sam Smith, Adele, and Billie Eilish, because my taste is flawless. But and of course in the Hispanic side, Bad Bunny, J Balvin, all the people. So I have a very wide taste in music. And that's also something that, again, is not very common in Latin American people. I think my whole family on the Colombian side pretty much only listen to vallenato, which is the Colombian born and bred music genre. And maybe, you know, obviously merengue, salsa, all the Latin rhythms, but that's kind of what they listen to the most. I had a period of my life around 2010, 2011, and I was like, let me give a chance to everything that I hated before and just forget about everything that I know. So I got into country, I got into rock, and I got into vallenato, and I got into EDM. All those things I rejected with my whole being before that time. And after that, I got a lot into French music. And then I got into a lot of Brazilian funk because of Zumba, doing Zumba and having a lot of Brazilian friends. And then when I was living in London, I got into Afro beats really strongly. And especially once TikTok dropped, I think Afro beats really took over with TikTok. So that was my journey. And then Laura ruined my life and she put me onto K-pop.
Yeah. For me, I've always liked, well, not always, but it's been pretty consistent in liking boy groups or what is it that, like, Justin Bieber isn't an idol, but he was called
Pop star?
A pop star. That's the word.
Yeah.
So it's always been pretty consistent that I've liked somebody.
They're designed for us to, like, feel these things.
For sure. But as I've gotten older, it has become less socially acceptable to like these things. So, for example, when I liked NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, it was fine because I was a child.
Correct.
And then when I got into Justin Bieber when I was in college, it was kind of like, oh, you're one of those.
Yeah.
Even though I'm pretty sure everybody was like vibing to Baby.
100%.
But it was kind of like every time I would say, oh no, I like Justin Bieber, it was like, oh really? And I'm like, yes.
It was not cool to like him after you were 15.
Yeah, and I was in my 20s because I was in college. And then when I started liking One Direction, that was even worse because I think I was out of college at that point. And it was, when I went to buy tickets to their concert, it was kind of like is this like okay? Luckily I had two friends that were also into them and weren't ashamed of it. So I was able to like, let's do it.
I think we need to get this out of the way. Why is it okay and why is it acceptable for men to fucking scream at the TV and get so into soccer and football and basketball and buy the jerseys and buy all the things and like Kanye, who is the most cancelable person alive, and they're normal with their screaming matches at the TV and them thinking that they're the coach and them thinking that they're BFFs with Wade or whatever. But when we like something, we're screaming girls and we are not to be credited for our taste.
That's true. I mean, my brother and my dad are really into like soccer, football.
Yeah.
And it's like crazy. I am pretty chill. And like, yes, I'll scream, but it's not like I'm doing it every single day or every other day when they're playing.
Sure. Just during the concert.
Yeah. And it's actually really annoying.
I think there's a huge discrimination or there's a lot of lack of leveling in the way that men are seen when it comes to their things that they like and what women are seen when we like something, especially past 12. We're not allowed to have these passions anymore. And I wanted to bring up something from an Instagram account that I don't know if they're active anymore, but they post things that are relevant in the news cycle. But they're also really big fans of Harry Styles, so they'll post his content once in a while. And she, because it's a woman moderator that runs it, she was talking about how being a big fan or a stan of a pop group was such helpful experience for her in growing her following and doing this for actual reporting of news, because she used to run fan sites and be a moderator. So she knew how to build community and she knew how to engage and she knew all these things. So actually this is clearly a very different point from what we were talking about, but just kind of bringing different aspects of it to life and saying being a stan or being a fan can actually propel your skills elsewhere. Like, I think this that we're doing right now with the podcast is actually one of the ways in which we're both growing as people and getting skills that we wouldn't necessarily have if we hadn't done this. And this is the only time that we've been inspired to do something like this.
This is the first time that one of my friends like what I like, because I was very much alone in being a believer. I was very much alone in being a One Directioner or a direct. I was very by myself. Like, I had friends that did like them because I was able to, for the One Direction concert, like, I didn't pay for my friends' tickets, but they still weren't like, they were like super like blasé, is that the word? Like, oh, whatever, it's fine. Like, I like them, but like, it's fine. Meanwhile, I'm driving to work. It's an hour commute and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs.
You don't know you're beautiful.
Yes, 100%. This is the first time that I've had that like community feel, like somebody to relate. And it's really nice. I also had, even though I was by myself, it kind of made me grow as a person and be like secure, confident, because I didn't care that anybody knew and I wasn't afraid to say,
I think that has to do with also your personality. Like, you're a very strong person, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. But I wasn't when I was younger. So now, when we talk about our past experiences and you mix it with K-pop, so liking Justin Bieber and One Direction was weird in my family's point of view. But they were gringos, so like, it's okay.
Yeah.
In the long run, it's okay. Now, K-pop,
it's a whole
different thing.
I can say my family, like my mom and dad, don't make fun of me or anything like that. They're kind of like, oh yeah, that's so glad you found something that you like, pat. They're not discouraging me from it, especially because I think they see that it makes me happy. And as long as I'm not under a bridge, not doing anything with my life and just watching content, they don't care, because again, it makes me happy and that's the end point. But my siblings are a different story, and I've always been bullied by my siblings. Like, I've been bullied by every male member of my family thoroughly. I think that's what made us strong and what makes us be okay with life. Siblings, cousins, like I've been trying to, the way that Laura brainwashed me, I've been trying to make my family kind of see what's coming, just because I keep telling everybody in Latin America, I'm like, you guys keep rejecting this shit, but it's gonna get to you at some point or another. Like, the way BTS and all the groups are growing, we have seen how little by little, slowly but surely, Latin artists are getting engaged with the K-pop wave, and they want to be part of that groove. So I'm dying for the day when I see people dancing at the club, bouncing up and down to J Balvin feet, whomever of the K world. And they're not gonna know, and then out of nowhere they're gonna start liking these people, and like we're just gonna stand there looking at them like, told you so, bitch.
My experience was a little bit different. So my parents always give me a hard ass time because they think I guess you could say in English it would be savage, in Spanish or in Colombian it'd be ácida, and I always tell them I came from you guys,
right?
But they always think I'm like super savage, but they're the ones that are super savage. So my parents bully me a little bit, but like they're not very supportive because they just think it's weird and a little bit silly.
I mean, let's start with the fact that I hate saying this because it's such a poor reflection of our heritage and our people, but just start with the fact that just like in the US, there's a lot of ignorant people who think every Hispanic person is Mexican. there's a lot of ignorance in Latin America, and every Asian person is Chinese.
Yeah.
So whenever we talk about K-pop, somebody will say los chinos, the Chinese people. And it's like, I am tired of correcting people. And not just because it's something that I like, but because it's the right thing. Like, first of all, let's talk about each country's gift in their own way. There's Japanese pop and it's J-pop, and then there's Korean pop and it's K-pop, and there's Chinese food and it's Chinese food, and it's not the same thing as everywhere else. So there's that racist aspect of it.
I think it's also another problem besides the racism and the ignorance of todos son chinos. It's also to the machista culture and the fact that Hispanics still tend to be, for the most part, very homophobic.
Correct.
So if they see somebody with makeup, like a man with makeup, it's, oh, so he's gay. And I'm like, maybe, but like, it doesn't mean anything. It's just makeup.
Correlation does not equal causation.
Yeah,
here.
like, chill the fuck out. Like, it's just makeup. Like, maybe he's gay, maybe he's not. But again, what does it matter? They look beautiful. Like,
and they're talented.
Yeah, like, how does that relate to their music at all? It doesn't.
Yeah.
But for some reason, that's one of, like, the first thing is y los chinos, and then the second thing, ay no, ellos son como raritos.
They're a little weird.
Always.
They're a little weird. Yeah. I mean, I tried showing my girl cousins that I know they've been into a ton of fandoms, and they were not having it. And I was like, it's fine. You're not ready for it. It's going to come one day. The other thing is, because you and I are not typical fans that just care about the idols and the K-popping and the thirsting for hot men, and I'm speaking for myself, she's married, she's not thirsting for hot men. I would like to also say that we are a little bit more educated and we like to learn the cultural aspect of it. So I've actually gotten to have some interesting conversations with, like, my brother or my dad, because of the political situation in Korea with our impending election. That, and the other thing is just, like, talking about the Hangul, the Korean alphabet, and how it was formed during the Joseon dynasty and stuff like that. And I'm like, I think we can bring that intellectual side of the conversation that is interesting and can give people a little bit more of a well-rounded impression. And it's not just like, oh, they're just, screaming for boys that look like girls. Yeah. So I think that's the only thing that I think I've had to my advantage. Yeah. Which sucks.
With my family, it's a bit different. They're great. I love them. But even with, like, Hispanic stuff, like, my dad, if we put some, like, reggaeton, he's like, the fuck is this? Like, we can't let my dad be in control of the music in a family party.
What does he play? If
it's only vallenato, but he plays the same 4 songs, which is where I get it from. He plays the same 4 songs over.
They want to hate us so much, and we do the same shit they do.
And it's like over and over and over and over. Like, it literally, even my mom is like, Laura, do not let your dad take control of the music, because he will only play the one thing. So they're very into what they like, and they're not very open to
new things.
Yeah,
it's like people that, they have their 3 childhood friends and they don't want to make any more friends, and they're done. Like, shout out to living in London.
Sass.
Hi, Lindsay. Love you, my only friend. Again. Oh, and Andrew. Andrew got salty last time. Lindsay's husband, that I didn't mention him on the last podcast that I mentioned her. So he's my fellow introvert, and we formed an introvert coalition. So anyway, shout out to Andrew.
I think all Hispanic K-pop fans go through the same thing. Low-key bullying.
I think from the first step, and let's not assume that everyone's getting bullied like we are, might just be rejection. Just like, not interested. Like, that's good for you. A little bit condescending, but nothing more than that. And then, we're going through bullying because Colombian and Venezuela.
Yeah.
My mom actually entertains a lot of my bullshit with being a K-pop fan. She knows that Suga is the love of my life, and I send her pictures of him all the time. No shame. He's so gorgeous. And she's like, yeah, also pay the bills, bitch. Like, balance. That's what I like to say. In my family, it's all about balance.
My parents, I don't even dare to send them anything because there's no point. I do send them WhatsApp stickers, and my sister started using some.
With that said, it's not fun to be an adult K-pop fan as a Hispanic woman raised in Latin America, living in the States. definitely not fun. I don't think it's going to be something that our parents are ever really going to get on board with, because at this point they're in their 50s, 60s, and it's a little late for them to try to get into like a new language and find something comforting in that, even though, oh my God, I didn't tell you about this, but so my dad is a huge fan of The Voice. Like, he loves that show. So whenever I go to his house, my dad will play like compilations.
He will?
And he plays the Russian, the Ukrainian, the German, the Polish, all them languages that they have The Voice in. No. And he watches them. And sometimes he doesn't even like have the subtitles on. And he's watched it so many times that he actually knows what's going on in the conversation.
Oh my God.
So,
and then they wonder where we came from. My God.
Like, we are literally the same thing that our parents are, except like they just don't see it the same way that we do.
They don't.
But yeah, like my dad watching endless hours of The Voice on repeat and knowing exactly like at what point in the video that something's gonna happen. Me with everything. It just makes sense. So yeah, man, I'm just happy and I'm living my best life. And it doesn't matter that I'm Hispanic and that they're Korean and I don't speak the language, because I'm, number one, trying to learn. Number two, music does not have a language.
Personally, I don't even know the lyrics in English or in Spanish, to be honest. I don't pay attention to it. That's just who I am. I just go by feels. And I like, usually sometimes it takes me years that I'm listening to a song and I'm like, oh my God, that's what it was saying, just because I don't really pay attention to lyrics. So it makes sense that I like K-pop, because I do look up the lyrics and like, you know,
just to know the vibes. Or we'll see like a TikTok that it's like, what's this song about? And then we'll learn.
But I usually it doesn't really matter to me. It's all about the vibes. There's a lot of good vibes out there.
Yeah. My younger brother is really into freestyles and rap battles. So he actually is just, I understand that he's like, listen, I want to understand so I could be like, oh, you know, thug life, the sunglasses, the thing. When someone like says a killer line, I totally get that. Yeah. I get that same thing with the subtitles. The subtitles don't take anything away from me, the captions. So I think people are just missing out on things. And I have another friend that I know he's really into rap. And I sent him a very top shelf selection of songs that I thought he would like. So for example, DNA, because I'm like, it's a Kendrick Lamar remix. So like, I think he should be already into the thing. He's Venezuelan. He doesn't really speak English, but he's been, you know, rapping in English for years. I sent him the thing. He ignores me for weeks. I come back knocking like evangelical Bible seller. Hey, did you watch the videos? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I haven't. And then he's like, watches it and he's like, yeah, sorry, like not about it. I don't like it, whatever. And then we start talking, and then later he's like, you know what I actually do like? French rap. And I'm like, oh, I know you don't speak French, bitch. But I would like everybody to just be a little bit more open-minded. Yeah. That would make my life.
It doesn't take away from anything. And it's true. Like, if it was anything white European or like American, if it's that, everything's fine. But if it goes a little bit past like a certain, like, is it longitude or is it longitude, right?
I don't know directions.
Yeah, one of those, like, it becomes unacceptable.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing with this podcast. We're aiming to change the minds of South Floridians and our family.
And also just find people that are like-minded, because I maybe it's because we're adults and the people that we are with have different priorities, but not a lot of people like what we like. And it's kind of annoying because there's so much like to talk about.
This is the thing. I think, like I mentioned earlier with me, that phase that I had in 2011, 2010, when I decided to give a chance to everything that I hated and wanted to take myself out of what I knew. This was very that same vibes for me, because Laura kept trying to get me to be into this, and I wasn't about it. But then when I was, it was so refreshing. And it took me a while to get acclimated to Korean entertainment and what they do. For example, when you watch a variety show or any show, you'll watch the same scene from 60 different angles because they want you to catch everything that happened. And my mom would benefit highly from that because she loves to rewind and watch shit again. So this does it for her. So I think my mom would really be into Korean TV. So just getting into things like that and hearing how they speak at interviews and say that we're gonna show you a different side of ourselves in this comeback, and
it's literally just the same side,
and it's just like the hair is like slightly more to the right.
Pink eyeshadow instead of purple.
So, it's a very different experience from what we're used to, from seeing Western artists and even anyone else from what we've seen before. So to me, it was just really refreshing. And there's so much content to be watched. There's so many groups that are so good and they drop music all the time. I have moments where I'm really into listening to new music.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was probably Billie, the last Western artist that I listened from top to bottom once they dropped the album. Billie or Ed Sheeran, one of them two. And I was basically only listening to that. But now with K-pop and with this whole thing of them dropping songs and singles and EPs and albums and all the things, I'm constantly pushed to listen to new music. And it's exciting. And the thing is, because they know how saturated the market is, they try to make it different. They don't try to sound the same as everyone else. They really make an effort to bring you, even if they don't look any different, the music is different.
It's true.
And that makes it exciting for me. Like, it's never boring. I'm never bored. It's just super engaging.
Even if you get out of like K-pop, if you go to like K-R&B, I guess you could, JB from GOT7, he released his first solo work last year with
Somos Fiumi.
Eso. He released that and it was a vibe. I loved it.
Absolutely.
And then just this month he released his latest solo work and it was completely different than his first.
Yeah, because he also has different personas. Like, he does different music
but
under
like,
each.
You don't really see that.
No, you don't.
In Western artists, no. I feel like Bad Bunny makes Bad Bunny music. It's different.
Also, yeah.
But it's Bad Bunny music.
That just reminded me your comment. So, you know how from Glee, Amber Riley. So, Amber P. Riley, she is known as an actress and a Hollywood person from Glee. She did Dancing with the Stars, whatever. And now she's dropping music. And she's dropping it under the moniker Riley, which is her last name. And people are having a really hard time with calling her Riley or saying that the music is from Riley. Just like with Childish Gambino, he has his actor or person name, and then he has, which is the only Donald that we acknowledge in this household, but and then he has Childish Gambino, which is what he drops music under. But they have a really hard time with that here in the States. In Korea, they don't.
No.
I have Suga, who is also August D, who is also Prod by Suga, who is also Min Yoongi, who is also Little Meow Meow. And we all respect all his multiple personalities and his multiple avenues for releasing music. Just like you're saying with JB. JB is JB. He has Def. He has the collective with which he works with Def under. And then he was like interviewing himself during one of the shows. And it was so great. Like he was like DJ, whatever his DJ name is, interviewing Def. And I really like that too. There's a lot of respect for those boundaries that they set.
Even when they don't have like a different name or a different persona, their solo work can be so different from their group work. And everybody's like, yeah, that makes sense.
300% agreed. We've talked about how we are going to see this wave come over, whether people are ready for it or not. Yeah. I'm just really happy we're on the right side of history.
For sure.
And we get to tell everybody that we told you so, because I'm a Scorpio and that's my kind of
energy
vibe. Yeah. My toxic trait is being a Scorpio and wanting to be right and having revenge on people.
Yeah. I don't know what I think I'll be toxic too, because when people were clowning Justin Bieber and now they love him and I'm like, bitch, really? You gonna do 180?
Been here, done that.
Come
first
on.
Of all. Yeah.
It was a struggle being a believer for a couple of years.
Yeah.
He was also going through a rough time.
Yeah.
A little bit.
He made it hard for us to be believers.
Was a little questionable and problematic. By a little, I mean a lot. But like, you know what? It's fine. Yeah. That's also very on brand for me.
It is.
Consistent.
It is very consistent. But with that said, I do think we're going to get the last word here. And hopefully. Clearly, as evidenced by, and we can mention briefly some collabs that have already happened. And I've been trying to use these collabs as a way to infiltrate into my family. One of the first ones that I became aware of was Sebastian Yatra with Monsta X. Yes. I think that's huge.
It is
anyone
huge.
Who's Colombian or has any knowledge of Colombian-ish music, knowing that Sebastian Yatra collabed with a K-pop group in 2019 before the pandemic is pretty fucking notorious.
And 2019 Yatra was big.
Yeah. He's still super big.
Yeah, but he was big. At that point, he was still big.
Like on every music station with 35 million songs at the same time.
We have Super Junior with Leslie
Grace.
I have a playlist. Let me go pick it up.
We have Chungha with
Guayna.
We have also, well, we can talk about the trips that they've done and the songs that they've sung. So Temen sang Despacito in Chile.
Cute.
And Dio, Bacon, and who else in Mexico?
Chanyo.
They sang Sabor a Mi.
Yeah.
So they're trying, and they know that there's a big reception for them from the Latin American fans.
Jay Park did a reggaeton song.
Yeah. And he sings in Spanish in a lot of his songs, like small phrases.
Words, yeah. Super Junior also did with Rake.
No way, I didn't even know about that one. And like we said in the 80s episode, Daddy Yankee is considering a collab with 80s. Yeah. So that would be fire. And then J Balvin is is promoted in part by Ithaca Holdings, which BTS's company just bought last year. So yeah, Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, Demi Lovato, J Balvin. I mean, I know they're not all Hispanic, but just saying, those artists are all now in the same label that runs BTS. Yeah. So the likelihood of a collab is very high.
Yeah. There's also Dio did a song in Spanish for his first solo work.
Which is huge.
Yeah. Super Junior has also done just by themselves a song in Spanish. GOT7 did Lullaby, Spanish version. It's pretty good.
I think they know that there's a good amount of Latin fans and they want to give us crumbs.
Lisa. The song that recently just came out.
Oh, with Ozuna and Baila? Yeah.
And then also Nati Natasha
and Momoland. Yeah. J-Hope with Becky G.
Chicken Noodle Soup.
I know the whole verse by Becky. I don't mean to brag, but chicken noodle or pollo con espagueti. Ninguna esta mujer tiene el flow que tiene Becky. I fucking love that song.
It's great.
I love the way that J-Hope brought back chicken noodle soup.
Yeah.
From what it was when we were, like 12, 13?
Yeah, about there.
And then, so first of all, of course, J-Hope would know about Latin artists and he would know about Becky G's presence and everything. So the fact that they did that collab and then he sang in both Korean and English. She sang a verse completely in Spanish with English later. So I think the whole like merging of the worlds has been happening. It started. I think 2019 was the year where it really kind of became big.
And honestly, Super Junior has been like a pioneer for it because they've been doing Spanish, like Hispanic collaborations for a while. And they did a whole little video on Luis Miguel. It's really good because they all dress up like Luis Miguel with like, because this was one of his songs from the 80s. So they all have like that like hair. I forgot what it was called, but it's so good. Ahora Te Puedes Marchar. So you see? I'm showing Kathy if you're not looking.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. That's freaking hilarious. Oh, wow. Is Hicho in this video?
No. Oh, yeah. No, I don't think so.
Because that would be major for me.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, no. So Super Junior, I don't know anything that they've done in Spanish.
Yeah, but I think they've been pioneers.
Probably. Literally still being around after debuting in 2005 is a big deal for the K-pop industry.
Pretty good following.
Yeah, and longevity.
Yeah.
And House Party wasn't half bad last year.
You know.
It wasn't for them, but it just wasn't bad as a song.
That's true.
With that said, I think we are very excited for the prospect of more collaborations and more Korean entertainers and artists becoming known within the Latin community. We can't wait to be right.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to say, we can't wait until we can say I told you so.
We really can't. That's the truth of my heart. It's true desires. But in general, I really, like, this is the thing. Laura shared this with me, I think because she didn't want to be a loner fan again. But also, in my personal experience, and I think this is what happens with you too, when you share this with someone who understands, it's just so much more fun.
It is so much more fun.
For me, this whole K-pop, K-entertainment journey has been about a lot of healing, a lot of entertaining, a lot of relaxing, it's been my guilty pleasure. And I, for one, hate everything from Bravo and TLC and all those other things that are on TV pleasures right now that most people consider their guilty pleasures. I'm not about that life. I've never been into it. So this provided a different kind of guilty pleasure for me, which I don't find any guilt at all because I think I'm learning so much from just absorbing everything that's happening through osmosis. I'm not even trying. And I'm just taking in the culture of what it is. But I literally just want people to get, even if they get a fifth of what I get, it'll be awesome because I get a lot out of it.
It's true. I just want them to stop making fun of.
My goals? Laura's goals. I'm out here trying to start model UN with my family. And Laura's here like, please just stop making me feel like ass.
And I think that speaks a lot about our personalities.
I think it does too. Yeah. But at the same time, I know you don't really care at the end of the day because you're just living your best life.
It's true.
And the fact that we don't have to ask our parents for money.
Oh, thank God we're adults in that sense. Yeah.
To just cover for what we want to enjoy. And that we're just ladies that maybe are in our 20s, but maybe not. And we're having a sleepover tonight to watch a concert at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning because we're enjoying and living our best lives. Like when we die, we're going to look back at these times and think we had so much fun.
It's true.
So I regret nothing. The past year and change of my life has been truly, literally life-changing. There's a before November 14th, 2020 for me and an after November 14th, 2020 for me. So I truly have had an amazing experience. And as an adult Latina K-pop fan who resides in Miami, which happens to be the most fair weather fucking city in the world, and that we don't follow anything. And for years, I was a big fan of a lot of YouTubers. They never came to Miami because there's no fans here. No one in Miami wants to admit that they're a fan of something. They don't want to stand in the heat for anyone, except like, I don't know, Beyonce or something.
The only thing we stand are cortaditos and colladas.
At Versailles.
And that's
and
it.
You want to look down on me. So,
well, they're pretty good.
Not as good as anything that we've witnessed this year.
You know what?
No, I don't know what.
In the morning and you have a little cortadito or a colada. It's pretty good.
I just don't understand why we can't coexist and have both things. I want, if I can accept your love for being at Versailles with your colada and your cortadito through the ventanita.
And I'm not even Cuban.
I don't even drink coffee because it gives me migraines. So
they go away.
I think we can coexist.
It's true.
So I just want all of us to be into it, and
or maybe don't be into it so it gets a little bit more affordable.
I need them to come to Miami. I can't keep traveling all over the country.
That's true.
To see these people, because the way that I almost went to like 5 different cities for 80s was not okay.
You know what though? Shout out to Eric Nam and P1 Harmony. Like,
shout out to
they're coming here.
Epic High. Orlando is not that bad.
I mean, they could
drive there.
Eric Nam and P1 Harmony are like in South Florida.
I think Tableau is way too intellectual for South Florida.
You know what? That's rude.
No, it's just facts.
No, rude.
Whatever.
We're in South Florida.
I am eternally grateful. We are both eternally grateful to all the artists that are deciding to come down here.
And Monsta X, I'm sorry,
and
babies.
Monsta X, our babies. I'm just going to keep trying with people because I remember asking Laura what it is that worked with me, and she just goes, persistence. So I've tried being persistent with other people, but I'm not one to knock on the door twice. But I've been trying. And we'll see what happens. I can't wait for somebody to one day message me and be like, oh, hey, those people that you sent me, they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, my therapist.
You did it.
Yeah. I totally told my therapist about, she's been knowing about this ever since I got into it. I started telling her about how this was my escape. And she was like, hey, you're not doing drugs. That's good for you. So she was totally supportive of it. And then I think a couple of sessions ago, she was like, so I know you don't get into like stupid shit just for getting into stupid shit. I do. I play Pokemon Go. I get into stupid shit. But she was like, I know you don't get into stupid shit for getting into stupid shit, but I wanted to see what it was about BTS. And she's like, I like their vibe. And that was what she said last appointment. In the last appointment, she goes, I like Jungkook. So my therapist is a bias now, thanks to me. So I would like to take that as my biggest accomplishment already of 2022. And everyone else, follow her lead. Thank you.
Thanks for watching, listening, because we're a podcast.
And come be on the right side of history with us.
Or not, so we can afford to go.
I just need Miami demand.
And more friends.
And more friends. We're open to all the K-pop friends that want to be friends with us.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the MIA2K podcast. We have lots of great content coming up ahead, so please don't forget to follow and subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you enjoyed our episodes, please rate us 5 stars.
And for the real-time tea, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook by searching for @MIA2K Podcast. Dale, bye.